and also our reservations and our concern about the changes to the coffee ministry. On record, Deputy Speaker, the Honourable William Bando has been outstanding for the coffee industry. He has created a resurgence, and he has physically driven it in the Highlands, especially in Eastern Highlands and Simbu. And this change in ministry really raises a lot of concerns for us, for the Prime Minister to take note, knowing that it is his absolute prerogative. Now, Deputy Speaker, my question without notice is in relation to the management principle of structure follows strategy. Now, with these recent changes, I myself, the opposition and the country would like to know what the Prime Minister aims to achieve with the changes in the recent ministerial changes to Cabinet, the new appointments, the reshuffle, and especially the changes to how planning, finance and treasury function. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we're a little bit concerned that removing the warranting function from treasury and allowing finance to be the sole department responsible for warranting and then for making payments, it offends our FATF reform agenda to get off the grey listing. That's the first thing. And then we're also concerned about what's happened to the state-owned enterprise. We've just sliced and diced the state-owned enterprise. We've given PNG power to another minister. We've allowed commodity boards to be under the purview of other ministers, and this creates a conflict of interest. So we want some clarity with respect to the changes that have affected SOE. So on that note, Deputy Speaker, we just want to know, consistent with first management principle of structure follows strategy, what the Prime Minister aimed to achieve with these changes, the Cabinet reshuffle and the new appointments. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I want to thank the opposition leader for asking a series of public interest questions so that those matters are further clarified to give into context the reshuffle that has taken place. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we are 8 months from the issue of REITs 2027. The government came into office with a clear mandate, our focus on agriculture, our focus on state-owned enterprise, restoration, rehabilitation, our focus on efficient delivery of services, and having worked in the 4 years under existing structures, taking time, we have the view that certain of these reforms are necessary, not to mention the changes that have taken place, the reforms, especially in the two main sectors, the state-owned enterprise and the central government nerve center. And I will expand on this in a little while. But firstly, I want to thank the ministers who have served with me the last 4 years. It was an absolute honor and privilege to have worked with them. Unfortunately, some due to medical predicaments, some due to the electorate needs and requirements for their presence in the respective electorates, the attention to national call of duty was a little bit shortchanged, and so felt with 8 months left to go, it is not most of you, if not all of you, but it is the leading coalition and it is the government that will be exposed to outcomes as we stand in the face of scrutiny in 2027. So in the last leg leading to the elections, we felt that some of these changes in portfolio reallocations were necessary, as well as the two main structural changes. And I want to also in the same breath register my appreciation to two of our key ministers, Minister for State Enterprise, Minister Duma, who have more than 15 portfolios under him in the current KCH structure. And in as much as he's trying to attend to this work, the structure itself is convoluted. He sits right at the top of the structure chain. But you have the state-owned enterprises, you have the worker in a state-owned agency or enterprise. You have the second layer, the MD or CEO of the state-owned enterprise. Then you have the board of that state-owned enterprise. And then the board then reports to another MD, say MD of KCH. Then you have the MD of KCH reporting to another board. My brothers and sisters, this House has been complaining of power blackouts. And we are trying to address some of the short change and the opposite beliefs in the current structure that is in place. Fair go, that's your policy platform you want to take to the elections. But it will be idiot of me to see the current structure not delivering to income, and with greatest respect to the minister responsible. 15 portfolios, by the time he comes around to the next one, events may have overtaken. So with greatest respect to the portfolio minister, as Prime Minister, and I take wholly that decision that was made. It emanates straight from the Pangu Party Convention policy room that 7 of these changes must take place, especially matters relating to efficiency of key essential service delivery. And so we have not, in this focus, diluted the role of KCH as a company. Kumul Consolidated Holding Limited as a company's role is preserved. But we are now removing the couple of layers. Reform is still on foot, underway. And this Parliament, if need be, to amend the law, we recommend for a change. The Minister for State Enterprises remain as the Minister responsible for Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited. But the Minister will also be responsible for the companies that are under him. 1 or 2 companies, for instance, in this case, when PNG Power in its chronic stage, it is not carcinogenic for use of medical word in terms of the sickness of PNG Power. Not carcinogenic, it is cancerous. Stage 4 cancer. So something needs to be done in PNG Power. Minister Duma has tried his best, but a structure that he's worked with, and has been part of the process. So I felt another brother minister work with him on the side. He still has custody over the Kumul Consolidated Holding structure, but by Prime Minister's determination, the policy oversight, not the business structure, but the policy oversight, be lended to the new minister. He takes an arm's length view into what is happening in PNG Power. And so the minister now appointed to oversight PNG Power as a case in point has an arm's length and policy view, where the business structural view still relates to the minister responsible for KCH. So that is the intention. Just to remove some of the bottlenecks. As I said earlier again, you have the KCH structure, you got the last I count was about 8 layers, if not 7 layers, where if a policy instruction goes down, it takes 8 layers to go down to the operational area, and it takes 8 layers to come back up to the final decision makers, whether it's at the boards, or eventually the 8th one is where cabinet sits, approving AOPs, or annual operating plans. So it is sort of in this vein that the reforms are made at KCH. In the same spirit, the central government agencies, planning, treasury, and finance. Nothing against the 3 ministers. But a system, for those of you who have been with me long enough in Parliament would understand, out of 1, these 3 were created. What used to be only finance ministry or department before, in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, it became finance and planning, and later planning on its own, it became treasury and finance. And I think 10 years ago, it became treasury on its own, finance on its own, and planning on its own. Now, the 3 departments, these are central departments, instead of operating by nature of their own definitions, their wordings, planning to plan, finance to finance, and treasury to manage the economy. 3 of them have also functioned as printing checks for central government, running programs instead of departments, provinces, districts or agencies running programs, the three have been caught in the quagmire of small picture and not the big picture. Planning, for instance, supposed to be only holding the medium-term plans and Vision 2050s. The Reset 2050 clearly sees, and not from James Marape, but a pool of experts who were brought in, including NRI, including TI, headed by prominent sons of our country and daughters of our country. They felt that something drastic must take place in the central government. Planning's writing hundreds of checks, Treasury's writing checks, finance writing checks. Sometimes we all get crushed in these three sectors, so we're trying to now distance. Planning, you don't get bogged down in writing checks. You hold the big plan of a country and measure submissions against the plan. You prepare a budget. Treasury, focus on revenue, focus on macroeconomy, control the disbursement through the budget management committee process that sits every week. Treasury's role as chair of the budget management committee still remains. Every week they chair this, they give up authority to finance. This is the quantum of the expenditure, this is the spend, this is the ceiling. It is within budget. The budget management committee is staffed or filled by Secretary Planning, Secretary Treasury, Secretary Finance. They meet every Tuesday, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Sometimes I drop into those meetings. Most times Treasurer chairs. So that work of Treasury to control the lead in priority expenditure remains as an oversight. The warranting function is really a cash management tool. So we've now brought back warranting function. Earlier it used to be with Treasury Secretary. Treasury Secretary is now brought back to Finance Secretary, again based on recommendation by the Reset 50 people. They said this is an important tool to make sure we don't overcommit. What is in the till, what is in the Wageni public accounts, matched with what is budgeted for, then only one point of reference in as far as cash transaction. So easy for accounting. Easy for us to monitor, follow. Whoever's in the wrong, easy to catch up with the wrongdoer. So those were streamlined in the interest of where we are today. We hope that these streamlines increase efficiency in central government so that whoever comes into government in 2027 settle into a structure that is saving for service delivery and support in an expeditious manner without compromising good governance and allowing for the process to run. I want to also indicate that National Monitoring Authority, National Monitoring and Coordinating Authority, is not to usurp the role of national planning. National planning has custody of the medium-term plans and all sector plans. NMCA is not to, again, run around with a heap of public servants to do monitoring job. They are to engage reputable, recognized accounting firm and engineering firm to check on funds disbursed. I want to indicate through this good question, over half of department heads have not reported, not just on funds, but what they've done last year. Tomorrow, I'll be asking all of them to leave their offices. You kiss him money, you must report. But when I'm working, report the size of the money you kiss him. We've had a culture of no report and just work and ask. So sometimes at our 50th, and this is work done by the 50th Reset Committee. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sometimes we have to take the bull by the horn as we try to go into the 50th. Nothing against personalities, but to finding a structure that allows for work to happen at the earliest. All of us get served by whether it's KCH structures, or central government structures, or the portfolio ministers. The ministers have been informed that you all must deliver. On the question on coffee minister, well, equally qualified minister in the current transport minister has been packed the coffee portfolio with him. Now you ask me what's the rationale. I tell you it's easier to buy coffee on the roads that are currently running. But coffee from Karamui, coffee from Marawaka, coffee from Kabum, coffee in remote areas come in by a mode of transportation. So with the transport portfolio, parking with freight support, we want to at the earliest get our people their coffee uplifted from remotest parts of our country to come into. The former minister, I thank him. He did a good job in the coffee sector. He was the second minister for coffee. And I'm 100% certain he will do a very good job, and following on from Deputy Prime Minister's job at the immigration, a lot of work that needs to be done. He has an ability to work in this space. He did a good job. He laid the foundation for coffee to move, and I will work with him. He will also be asked to deploy his continued service in the coffee sector, so what he started does not fade away. I will support the new minister to do this job. There are rationales in those appointments, and I want to thank in closing those who served in previous capacities and the current new ministers coming in. I will work. I've told all of them that in the next 8 months, I will abandon my diplomacy in allowing the ministers to work. I'll work through the ministers. I'll also be checking on department heads, because we want to progress some of these things that need to progress at least up to 2027 before the elections. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope this is sufficient.